What's up, everybody? Whoa, sorry. I apologize. Hey, I took a week off. What do you expect? I'm a little loose and greasy. But however, welcome to KRFF 95.9 LPFM, Moorhead, Fargo. We at the top of the hour. You were listening to Tobacco with Beck. Hex was the name of that. Welcome. Beautiful day here in Fargo. Again, RadioFreeFargo.org. You can stream wherever you want. There's a donation spot there. I think there's some merch you can grab. I'm Wilson, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday at 4 o'clock. I do some red tape. 420, we open a big fat bag of cannabis news. This Thursday's no different. Right in front of me was Side Stage with Trav, a 1 to 3, busting out rock. He's got guests. He's like the what's going on in the area. He definitely makes my job harder because he's that good. I, however, talk about cannabis legalization, cannabis progress, and then I kind of go off on tangents, and sometimes I don't even talk about cannabis. Mostly I do, though. So, again, welcome to the show. 420, we talk about cannabis in a concentrated matter. Right after me is Stinky Arts Music Mart. And then after that is Radio Free Madness, Locals on the 8, and then Black Ring Ritual. Rapidly wraps up your Thursday here at Radio Free Fargo, KRFF 95.9. Again, thanks for checking the station out. I personally feel it's the best station in the area. It's an independent radio station. It's not bogged down by the man. There's no commercials. However, we do suggest and imply some things. The New Life Center helps people who are homeless and hurting go from merely surviving to truly thriving. Their aim is to help people in need discover value and find hope. The New Life Center has evolved into a multifaceted emergency and crisis service center. To learn more about NLC, visit their website at www.fargonlc.org or give them a call at 701-235-4453. And this show, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, that focuses on cannabis and the benefits of cannabis. Again, it's always 420 degrees here in the studio. I'm dressed appropriately. I hope everybody else is. This show is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. They have colloidal silvers. They have the body butter, which I use. I put it on me right after the shower. It's recommended for all kinds of things, fungal things, which I'm also fighting. TMI, won't explain. It's good for stretch marks, any sort of rashes that you might have. I would pick some up outside the studio here across the street, Tochi Products. Get on in there. You can pick up everything that Black Cottage Alchemy provides. There's also an ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition inside the store. I would hope that you would sign that. Tell Joe Wilson sent you. And Orange Records also has the ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition. That's being circulated, and it's the only thing happening in North Dakota for the progress and the movement of cannabis legalization. So do your part. Support IndieCannabisCaucus.com. If you don't live in Fargo, find out where you can go and sign. And if you got extra time, be the guy who's getting the signatures. January is the deadline. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about, of course. And I like to always say that I believe cannabis was provided to us by our Creator, God Himself, to use it however we see fit. And the man kind of railroaded it in 1939. It wasn't God's deal. It was man's deal. And I thank Him every Sunday, 10 a.m. at Antioch Church in South Fargo. I just want to extend the invite. If you'd like to, get down with God, you can do that too. Now, without further ado, strap on your resin-soaked seatbelt, and we're going to talk about cannabis in a positive light. And let's play a little song. And again, I apologize for not being here last week. I looked out my eastern window and I seen clear skies. So I thought, well, I don't need to take my umbrella. I head out like I always do. I get halfway there and it downpours. I'm stuck underneath the credit union till about 4 something. So I attempted, but all three of you who want to take off work just so they can listen to me, I apologize. Here's up the first song. I got brand new Portugal the Man doing a sweet cover of Steal My Sunshine. You're welcome. Yes, indeed. Steal My Sunshine, Later that week. Portugal the Man, brand new, here on Radio Free Fargo, 95.9, Moorhead, Fargo. RadioFreeFargo.org is streaming wherever you at. Plug in, listen to us. Right before me was Side Stage with Trav, 1 to 3. 4 to 5, you got Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm Wilson. I bring you cannabis news, and I sprinkle it with some jammy jams, and there was an example of that. 420, we open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and we're going to talk about it. We got a lot of stuff going on. South Dakota's jumping. Nebraska getting funky. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And until then, I want to tell you that this segment of programming on KRFF 95.9 is being underwritten by Discontent Fargo. Discontent Fargo is your high-class counterculture lifestyle store. Discount is your destination for the smoke and vape culture, providing a dense selection of artist-based, handcrafted glassworks, vapor products, and lifestyle apparel. Discontent Fargo is located at 512 Broadway in downtown Fargo. I might as well also add that it actually was the storefront for Measure 3 in 2018 when we were pushing the measure that was on the ballot. So that's kind of ironic, right? Discontent moves into the old Measure 3 storefront. Bravo. Open 10 to 9 Monday through Saturday and noon to 7 on Sundays. For more information, check out Discontent Fargo on Facebook and their Instagram at Discontent Stores. And there you have it. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday, 4:20. We open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and we're going to do that here. I just wanted to say to you guys, welcome. And sorry I missed last week. I was stuck under an awning halfway between here and there. This is I'm wrapping up my 6th week of No Kratom. For those of you who just tuned in, never listened to this before, I was on about 68 grams of Kratom 8 weeks ago. I tapered down the first 2 weeks, and then I'm in the 6th week of absolutely nothing. And I also wanted to kind of share a little something too, because I've been dealing with this kind of, I don't know if it's a yeast infection, fungal thing, I don't know, but it's wreaking havoc on my body. So I'm trying to problem solve, and so I got this cottony mouth thing that normally you would say, well, yeah, because it was the thing you did earlier, which I don't, and I didn't because I'm here to, change the law, not break the law. But it's becoming suspect. So I Google it, and apparently there's your body makes neutrophil, and THC inhibits the neutrophil, which allows this kind of fungal problem to persist. So I'm a weirdo, and I'm a forerunner of, like I said, I was doing ivermectin before people were doing ivermectin. Feel me? I know all about the horse paste. 2016, I had a problem. I was sucking on that like a baby bottle. However, I'm getting sidetracked. Here at KRFF 95.9, I've decided that I'm going to refrain from anything. CBD, hemp. If you're doing it, I ain't going to stand by you. And I'm on day 3. I'm going to go a couple months and see if I can get my body equalized out. And if I'm still dealing with some problems, I'm going to probably go to the guy that rhymes with Proctor. I don't want to do it, but I might. But let's jump right into this next group of tunes. This is brand new, but it's old. Leo Niancelli. He's the guitarist for the Old Meters. This was like a lost album. Here we go. Thinking of the Day. Then we got Michael E. White. Then it's 420. Let's get it. Woohoo! That was brand new. Matthew E. White, Nested. That had kind of like an Alabama feel. Alabama 3, I mean. Leo Niancelli. Thinking of the Day. That was something they found in a garage from like 1960 something. So that's a 2021 deal there. Welcome. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, 420 right on deck here. You're listening to KRFF 95.9 LPFM, Moorhead, Fargo. Radio Free Fargo.org. You can stream that wherever you are. Thank you for listening to the coolest radio station in the world. As far as I'm concerned, we talk about cannabis in a positive light. This Thursday's no different. Again, ND for Freedom, a Cannabis Act. It's the petition being circulated, 21 plus to possess, 12 plants, 6 mature, 6 non-licensed business, and where you can smoke, you can smoke. And it's just about that time, so we're going to cue up the music. We're going to let it rock. And I'm going to see you on the other side of this. Go make yourself an iced tea. Put ice in that cylinder thing. And we'll be right back. Radio Free Fargo. KRFF 95.9.
Yo, it's Wilson from Canna-Talk ND. The super awesome show you're getting ready to listen to. I think you should go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll wait. Okay, enjoy the show.
Blah, 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 blah. Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Every stinking Thursday, I get in here 4 o'clock. 4:20, I open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and guess what? It's 4:20. Now, it might be 4:21, and some of you, they say 4:21 is for everybody who missed the bus. Get it? But anyway, we're going to talk about cannabis in positive light. I got a bunch of cannabis news to discuss. I got a couple things here quick to just jump on here. South Dakotans for better cannabis laws. They posted, we're working all day, every day, contacting new volunteers and setting up signing locations. The response has been incredible. They say South Dakotans from across the state are fired up. Our supporters are committed to placing a second legalization initiative on the ballot next year because, like everybody knows, but if you don't, they got one on the ballot last year. The people of South Dakota voted it in, and then it got hemmed up because that's what legislators do, and now they say it violated the single subject rule, and now the Supreme Court justices, 5 of them, 3 got to go yay, 2 got to go nay. That happened so many months ago, it was like a year ago, and they're still waiting for their response. They're hedging. I always say they knew what they were going to say, but they knew that it wasn't going to be popular, and they knew that if they waited long enough, then maybe these guys wouldn't come up with a second legalization bill, and then there wouldn't be another one. But South Dakotans for Better cannabis laws are smarter than that. So they've came up with a second one, and they're starting to get signatures. It's still going to be a challenging signature drive, they say, and we need all the help we can get. Sign up using the link in the comments and spread the word. So if you're from South Dakota, southdakota.marijuana.org/sign. And then another cool thing here in California, Ryan's Law was signed today in California, officially granting patient autonomy and freedom to use cannabis while hospitalized. So that's super cool. Let's give the ability to do your medicine in the hospital if you're a cannabis user a hand. That's good news. Shout out California. So thanks to all who contributed to the writing campaign. And cannabis is essential for hospitalized patients too. Here, and everybody knows that, except for the people making the rules, which should be me, right? But anyway, let's get into this. First up, and Nebraska, they're raring to go. If you're a Nebraskan person and you're listening to RadioFreeFargo.org, shout out to you. And you guys are doing another awesome job there. That's Senator Wishart? Senator Anna Wishart. I'm going by memory, but I can see her face in my head. I think I did that right. She is a rock star. You guys in Nebraska are lucky to have that bulldog pushing the cannabis legalization agenda. Movement. I said movement. Anyway, this is from WENY News, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania State Representative Clint Owlett, not our friend, reacted to the unveiling of House Bill 2050, which would legalize cannabis. The bill was unveiled on Tuesday by co-sponsors Jake and Dan. Owlett represents the 68th District of PA and has seen this type of legislation previously. Wheatley has been announcing similar legislation since 2017. Shout out Wheatley. It has been introduced in the past and it hasn't received the votes. It's not going to see a vote this time, said Owlett, party pooper. It doesn't have support, he added. Now, check out what this idiot, and this is a radio show, he's probably pretty smart, and even if he isn't, I'm just kidding. So this dummy. Many states continue to pass recreational cannabis legalization, including neighboring states, New York and New Jersey. Okay? Bill sponsor Wheatley believes other states that have passed similar legislation can serve as an example, and that the Commonwealth is reaching a point where more and more legislators are becoming supportive of recreational cannabis. However, Owlett disagrees. I don't think the atmosphere has changed, said this idiot. There's reports out there that are not accurate about the sentiment and the feeling. I don't think we're any closer, said Owlett. Owlett also says some legislators in states where rec use is legal are regretting the decision. Now, I would love to read that stuff. How come is he serious? Where's that information? We're learning a lot from other states, this idiot said. I had the opportunity to visit with some of my colleagues and friends that are legislators in Colorado this past summer. How come those guys aren't talking about it? They're not bringing it up. If they regretted the decision for whatever reason, high crime, just high crime, health issues, like the hospitals are full because of those crazy dope. Well, these would be health concerns. These would be, safety concerns. These guys are keeping secret? They're not talking about health and safety concerns? Well, what kind of colleague, what kind of, fellow legislator is keeping this all under his hat in Colorado? You know what I'm saying? They said, according to Owlett, that it was probably one of the biggest mistakes they ever made. Many states that have legalized rec use, like New York, require cannabis to be grown in-state. Farming advocates in PA say House Bill 2050 could make the same requirement. Owlett is no stranger to the ag industry. His district contains an abundance of farmland, and Owlett himself grew up on a dairy farm in the county he now represents in Harrisburg. Now check out what he says. I've never heard from a farmer that was interested in diversifying into growing cannabis. He said weed, but he's an idiot. They want to talk about diversifying into beef and poultry and swine. They want to talk about the regulatory burdens that the state and the DEP have put on them. Those are the issues that really concern them. Now I'll point out that why would you want to diversify into beef, poultry, and swine when you could grow cannabis that doesn't poop everywhere, that doesn't that doesn't get rampant diseases, that doesn't make a lot of noise, that you got to kill, there's blood and guts, and it ain't pretty really. Cannabis growing is beautiful, smells good, it attracts bees and a couple hippies, but hey, rock on. So, Owlett, if you ever see him in a Walmart, slap him for Wilson. Here at Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. I get in here at 4:20 or 4 o'clock, 4:20, open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and that's what's happening now on Radio Free Fargo, KRFF 95.9. Right after me, Stinky Arts Music Mart, and then Radio Madness, then Locals on the 8, and then Black Ring Ritual. Now, let's talk about this. This is from Cannabis Now. It's a glimpse into Afghanistan's traditional cannabis culture. Despite its ancient connections to cannabis and its history as a destination on the hippie trail in the mid-20th century, which I didn't know, Afghanistan has been a place few people have traveled to since the Soviets invaded in the late 1970s, which I also didn't know, and you probably didn't either, because you're too busy, eating 40 cookies. Come on now, get a hold of yourself. Afghanistan is now less accessible than ever, as the political situation keeps on deteriorating after decades of war and instability, which I could imagine this recent thing, you probably couldn't just buzz over and check out a little cannabis. But after thoughtful planning in October 2019, this guy found himself in the passenger seat of a Toyota Corolla, driving in the Himalayan foothills towards the city of Mazar-e-Sharif, home of the famous Afghan hashish. So he felt like it was a fantasy, while he changed money, he got a SIM card, okay, as the sun went down, okay, I don't want to read all this. So what he quickly discovered upon arrival is that a few cannabis plants can be seen in the city center in people's yards and houses. But once you reach the outskirts of the city, they become more and more apparent on the edges of cotton fields. It's still an illegal plant in Afghanistan, and some farmers complain that the government pressure to uphold the laws higher than ever. Which who's the government pressure? The Taliban? So harvesting the plants earlier and growing inner courtyards seem to be common practice to ensure a successful crop. Each cannabis field he saw showed an amazing diversity of shapes, colors, and fragrances. Afghans select cannabis plants that produce large amounts of resin using the seeds, just like it has been done for millenniums. So a popular way of consuming hash is the hookah, which we don't care about that. Baba Koo is a mythological figure who, according to legend, is the one who brought cannabis to Afghanistan. In my time, they came to realize the importance of holding on to cannabis traditions, so they remain in practice rather than letting them slide into legend along with Baba Koo. So there you go. You're welcome. Now, cannabis moment. Lung injuries tied to contaminated vapes. It was less common in states with legal cannabis and home grow. I'll say that again. Lung injuries tied to contaminated vapes were less common in states that were legal and home grown was allowed. So think about that, legislators in North Dakota. Which, hey, the legislative session is going to be coming up here in January. It'll be interesting to see what those, stuffed shirt, bogus, closed-minded losers are going to do up there in Bismarck. New federally funded research has identified another public health protection that is associated with states enacting laws to legalize cannabis. Just before the COVID-19 pandemic, an outbreak of a different mysterious respiratory disease emerged among some users, as we all know, in e-cigarettes. A recent study of the outbreak, published last month, analyzed the relationship between state policies and the prevalence of illness, and they found had a 42% lower incidence of E-Valley cases. And while state medical cannabis laws themselves seem to have no significant association, medical cannabis states that allowed home cultivation had a 60% lower incidence compared to those forbidding it. So, simply put, if the public can obtain products legally from reputable sources, there's less demand for illicit products. Well, look at the big brain on Brad, right? One exception to the trend in the new study was Massachusetts, which, despite having legal adult use cannabis, was in a high percentile The researchers noted that this may be explained by the fact that Massachusetts law went into effect almost 2 years before its licensed dispensary opened, a delay that could have strengthened the informal market in the interim. So cannabis policies may offer a means to reduce the scale of such outbreaks if they impede the market penetration of contaminated products. And again, if you have a regulatory process and system in place, North Dakota, there really isn't any issues. And if you allow home grow, you're just allowing people to have medicine at readily accessible medicine, especially if you're a combat vet, PTSD people. They should have it. They should always have something. They shouldn't be like, I'm out and I can't get to the dispensary, and it's less that I'm going to be the kingpin in Wishick and supplying everybody with my fourth rate, I've never grown before cannabis, causing cops all kinds of headaches. That's not going to be the issue. So the legislators, they really just got to, they got to stop, I call it being an owlet. You know what I'm saying? Cannabis moment again. Cannabis arrests dropped sharply in 2020 as both COVID and legalization spread. FBI data shows, let's talk about it here, huh? Cannabis arrests declined significantly. There were 1.5 million arrests overall last year, with cannabis sales and possession busts accounting for just over 30% of those cases. The vast majority were for marijuana, cannabis possession alone. The agency's data shows that there was a cannabis arrest every 90 seconds in the country in 2020, and there was a drug-related arrest every 27 seconds. Wow. Let me read that again. The data shows that there was a cannabis arrest every 90 seconds in the country, and there was a drug-related arrest every 27 seconds. While these figures still highlight the rampant ongoing criminalization of cannabis, it's still a substantial de-escalation compared to 2019, where the FBI reported a total of 545,601 marijuana arrests. That amounted to a cannabis bust every 58 seconds. And I just wanted to say that 1.5 million was just general drugs. 30%, 350,000 was for cannabis. So it's what? It's down some. So it's down like 200-some thousand. That amounted to a cannabis bust every 58 seconds. Put another way, there was 38% decrease in cannabis cases from 2019 to 2020. One of the more obvious societal changes during that time frame is the COVID-19 health crisis, which involves social distancing requirements and generally discouraged people from being out in public where they might be at a higher risk of being arrested for simple possession, and that's true. But advocates have also pointed out that the cannabis reform movement could be playing a role. Illinois' adult use cannabis law took effect at the beginning of 2020. For example, Hawaii, New Mexico, and North Dakota also enacted decrim of cannabis possession in 2019, and Virginia followed suit the next year. However, North Dakota's decrim was stupid, and it didn't really help at all. In Arizona, limited cannabis possession was legalized for adults, starting also in 2020. Now, as more states move towards a sensible policy, we are seeing a decline in the arrest of nonviolent consumers. Now, that just makes sense. Despite the decline in cannabis busts, the new data shows that American law enforcement still carry out more arrests for cannabis alone last year than for murder, rape, robbery, burglary, fraud, and embezzlement combined. And we really need to get that figured out. Because no matter who you are, if you're religious, if you're not religious, if you believe it should be legal, if you shouldn't believe it's legal, if you don't think that cannabis you should be arrested for cannabis more than rape, you're out of your stinking mind. You should vote to legalize cannabis just to get rape down. Feel me? It don't matter who you worship. If you don't worship, if you're a straight arrow, if you're a crooked arrow, if you don't think we should legalize cannabis so they can focus on rape, you ought to just shoot yourself in the face. I'd even help you, but it's against the law. I'm not a violent guy. I don't even think I could look at you. I don't think I could do it. But again, that should put it in perspective for everybody. If you don't like your car being broken into, if you don't like your house being broken into, if you don't like a guy saying, I got 2 sheep, and then he blindfolds you and only gives you 1, well, just keep in mind that that's because they're too busy busting cannabis users. Now, if they weren't busting cannabis users, guess what they do? They probably respond to your call of danger. You know what I mean? And again, they don't get to make a lot of money trying to find a burglar. They don't always find the burglar. But they'll always find the guy standing on the corner who smells like the ganji. So again, I've always contested it was the low-hanging fruit that gets them the money, that gets them the budget, that gets them the car, that gets them the house. Not the rape victim. That's just a single issue, and it'll probably end up costing more to prosecute. So just keep that in mind. Kansas City, Missouri, City Council approves measure eliminating pre-employment cannabis testing for most city workers. Now, as you know, the NBA is no longer testing their players again this year. Amazon is no longer testing for pre-employment. So shout out to them. And they say a lot of businesses will be following suit, which means Wilson might be getting a better job. Members of the Kansas City, Missouri City Council approved a local ordinance that will prevent pre-employment cannabis testing for most prospective government employees. That's cool. Ordinance number, there's nothing like a heartfelt, considerate guy who's got his head on straight who consumes cannabis just for his overall well-being and, general health, being in control of stuff, because it's about time. Ordinance number 210627, which was approved with an 11-1 vote, which is cool, says it's unlawful for the city of Kansas to require a prospective employee to submit to testing for the presence of cannabis in the prospective employee system as a condition of employment. Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas, which is a pretty cool name, almost sounds like a bad guy in a Bond movie, who sponsored the measure, said opportunities should not be foreclosed unnecessarily. Glad to see passage of our law eliminating pre-employment screening for cannabis at Kansas City government for most positions. One step of many in becoming a fairer city. Certain government positions would be excluded from the protections, such as law enforcement positions requiring a commercial driver's license, those caring for children, medical patients, disabled or other vulnerable individuals, and positions where the employee could significantly impact the health or safety of other employees or members of the public. Members of the council approved a municipal ordinance last year repealing all local penalties specific to activities involving the personal possession of cannabis. The mayor's office has also launched an online system to facilitate the process of pardoning those with low-level cannabis convictions. Now, I want to add that the measure is similar to other municipal laws that have recently been enacted in several other cities, including Fargo, just kidding, Philadelphia, Atlanta, A-Town, peace up, A-Town down, right? New York and Washington, D.C. Well, that's good stuff. Now, let's talk about, and this is from Normal, Nevada. New cannabis laws took effect this month. Earlier this year, Governor Sisolak signed multiple cannabis reform measures into law, some of which took effect this month. Assembly Bill 158 took effect on the first of this month, which revises first-time penalties imposed upon minors, which that's the first time I've started to see those kind of reforms. So if you're a minor, you possess small quantities of cannabis, it reduces existing penalties, which include up to 6 months in jail and a $1,000 fine to community service. Well, you start talking about how, ever since, Colorado legalized cannabis, they wish they always regretted it. Now, I'm not going to say that you've now said a 15-year-old's only going to get community service for having cannabis on them. It's a bad idea, but it kind of sounds like a bad idea. But, hey, I was a minor once, and, I'm no worse for wear. However, I am worse for wear. The measure also requires courts to automatically seal records for these offenses if the offender completes the term of their sentence. However, and it's kind of ironic, if you were a minor and you got busted for small quantity of cannabis and you were stuck in community service, getting some more small quantities of cannabis to help you paint fire hydrants, it'd kind of be a toss-up. Legislation to regulate on-site cannabis consumption spaces also took effect. Assembly Bill 341 allows adults 21 and older to purchase and consume adult-use cannabis products on-site at any licensed cannabis consumption lounge. The bill also provides for reduced license fees for qualifying social equity applicants, which is code for people that aren't white. I don't know. Why couldn't they just be straight up? Assembly Bill 400, which also signed into law, this measure amends the state's traffic safety statutes so that the operation of a motor vehicle with trace amounts of either THC or its metabolite is no longer per se violation of law in certain circumstances. Well, that's awesome, Nevada. You guys keep up the good work. You're listening to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson on Radio Free Fargo, KRFF 95.9. Right before me on this beautiful Thursday was Side Stage of Trav, 1 to 3. Right after me is Stinky Arts Music Mart. Got Radio Madness, locals on the 8. Black Ring Ritual. RadioFreeFargo.org. You can stream wherever you are. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to talk about South Dakota again. So if you're in South Dakota marijuana laws /donate. If you're in Nebraska, I want you to get involved. If you're in North Dakota, we got ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition that's being circulated. That's in Orange Records. That's in Tochi Products. So go ahead and get your signature on one. IndieCannabisCaucus.com. You can find other places in town because there are some. I think Smokey's House of Peeps is also a place where you can sign the petition. And there's other places in the state of North Dakota. Just go to IndieCannabisCaucus.com. You can figure it out. January is the deadline. And I'm going to just read a few things here to wrap this show up. Former U.S. Attorney General says U.S. is on the path to federal marijuana decrim. So that's exciting. I wanted to say that Illinois kicked another beautiful month. I'm curious to get the quarterly prices because, again, I think they killed the liquor sales again. Philadelphia will vote on cannabis referendum calling for statewide legalization next month. New York cannabis regulators hold first legalization implementation meeting and approve patient access to flower cannabis. California governor signs bill legalizing smokable hemp and sale of CBD-infused foods and drinks. So that's pretty cool, huh? Again, NBA won't randomly drug test players for cannabis for another season. So California State Fair will host cannabis competition for the first time. That sounds pretty wild. Illinois cannabis sales near $1 billion in 2021 with sizable September numbers. Well, let's take a look at the September numbers, should we? We got a few minutes. So, Illinois retailers have sold nearly $1 billion so far this year. September's $100 million plus haul. The state has now seen 997 million in adult use. That is crazy. There's just slightly lower than figures reported for August, but they say that was because of Lollapalooza. But anyway, in-state was about 82 million. Out-of-state was 40 million. So, and these figures don't include sales of medical cannabis, which are tracked separately. So that's, so anyway, the Illinois Chamber of Commerce president predicted back to May that retailers would sell more than $1 billion, and the October figures will make that certain when they are posted early next month. The level of cannabis commerce means a significant increase in the revenue for the state. Illinois sold about $670 million in cannabis and took in $205.4 million in tax revenue. Now, if you know anything about Illinois, they love taxing you. They do. They love it, love it, love it, love it. So I guarantee you they're loving this. And again, where is Pritzker secretly talking to Owlett and not to us and to the people and to his constituents and saying that they regretted legalizing cannabis in Illinois? I mean, with these numbers, you would almost be lying if you said, oh, there's a lot of violence, a lot of youngsters are doing it, property values are going down, our state's going to, AG double hockey sticks and a handbasket, but this money is so good, we're going to keep that to ourselves and we'll share that in private with Owlett. No, Owlett's saying all of this money's being made, no visible side effects, but yet in private you're saying this is a horrible idea? Well, it's all about the public opinion. It's more like what I see and what I feel. Like, I believe downtown Fargo is getting a little gnarly. I've lived downtown Fargo 20 years. In the first 16 years, I didn't carry any sort of protection because I worked from about, 5 to about midnight. And things have gotten a little different. And I mean, I'm not going to pretend that that's the case and then act like everything's great in downtown Fargo, but then in private tell somebody in Moorhead going, this was the worst mistake we ever made. No, because it's visible to everybody. I don't have to tell people who live downtown that downtown Fargo, certainly post-COVID, has gotten a little gnarly. So look at the numbers. That Owlett is full of crap as far as I'm concerned. But anyhow, you've been listening to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Every Thursday, get in here at 4 o'clock. 420 open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and this Thursday's no different. Actually, last Thursday was different because I got stuck in a rainstorm. But programming on 95.9 KRFF LP Radio Free Fargo is being underwritten by Orange Records. Orange Records offers a variety of new and used music on vinyl and CD, as well as a large selection of posters, DVDs, and much more. Orange Records buys used vinyl, CDs, and cassettes. Orange Records is located at 641 First Avenue North in downtown Fargo. They are open noon to 6:30 Monday through Saturday, and are closed on Sunday. Search Orange Records Fargo on Facebook for updates on new arrivals and special events. And when you're in there, go ahead and sign the ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition and tell Matt Wilson sent you. I believe there might be some bracelets that you may be able to put around your hand. And that's how you do it right there. I'm going to encore. I just can't get this Can't Stop the Rain, Neil Francis. Oh, man, Can't Stop the Rain, Neil Francis. That blistering slide guitar with my main man, Derek Trucks. He doesn't really know me, but, you know, we're still friends when I dream. Radio Free Fargo, KRFF 95.9 LPFM. That's what you got your dial turned to. Welcome, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Every Thursday, 4 o'clock, 420, open a big fat bag of cannabis news. And that bag has been closed until next Thursday. I'm wrapping stuff up. This show is brought to you by my sponsor, Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook, blackcottagealchemy.com. They got body butter, which is fantastic, colloidal silver. My friend really puts out a nice product. I thank her for sponsoring this show. If you want to pick some stuff up, again, blackcottagealchemy.com, or go over to Tochi Products. Joe will show you where all of her stuff is. ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition is there to be signed. Orange Records also has the ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition. IndieCannabisCaucus.com. You can find out where in Fargo besides those two places, or where in the state. Right after me here, Stinky Arts Music Mart. Radio Madness, Locals on the 8, Black Ring Ritual wraps up your Thirsty Thursday, as they say. We talk about cannabis in a positive light. This Thursday's no different. I discuss just general legalization news. I don't focus on the culture so much because, I don't know, I kind of feel guilty every time the more I read my Bible and the more I kind of dedicate my life to the man upstairs, because that seems to be my new direction. Talking about jive and culture and, stuff just doesn't sit right for me, personally. But I don't judge. I keep it real. And I hope you guys do, too. Cannabis is good for everybody. It's good. Again, I believe propaganda in 1939 was created to drive everybody away from mass production of hemp for everything that it could be done, building products, health products, paints, glues, everything, cars, for crying out loud, because the powers that be didn't have access to that, and they didn't know how they could make a profit. And so DuPont and those Anslinger guys, who was a super racist, decided to spin it. Because, cannabis wasn't even called dope, weed, or marijuana until those guys decided to associate it with the black people and the Mexicans, and then scared white people from it, and then started saying all kinds of wild stuff. And again, I challenge anybody to show me where there was a real reason that cannabis should have been called a demonized name and said it incited violence and worms would eat your brain. I don't know. I'm not saying I don't have a worm in my brain from cannabis, but he's pretty happy and he hasn't multiplied and my brain's still here. Feel me? So anyway, I'm going to jump out of here. Stinky Arts Music Mart's going to get down after me. You guys have yourself a beautiful, beautiful Thursday and weekend. It's been stinking gorgeous out here. And thank you for joining me. I'm going to see you guys around town. David Allen, Judgment Day. Peace.